Happy New Year and welcome to a new episode of the Steal a Moment podcast with me, Michael LeBois. Today's guest is Josh Dover, the host of Harris Hastings and Dover, and the second of the Masters of the Midday that I've been able to get on this podcast over the last few months. This is our first episode of 2021, and this was recorded on December 4th, 2020, as Josh brings up in the video. We discuss everything about the look of the NBA, as Josh is my resident basketball-focused analyst. We discuss cancel culture, as one of our favorite comedians was canceled this year, and kind of discuss some of the topics about that. We also talk about the drive it takes to be a member of the media or work in media in any capacity. Josh is a mentor and a great friend, someone that I am proud to say that I've worked for and with. He was one of my teachers at the Colorado Media School, where I learned the skills I learned to be a podcaster, to be in the field that I'm in professionally outside of media, how I got my chops as a radio host, really working with him and working with some other great people who work in Colorado in this industry. Yeah, and we have some great moments. We laugh. He tells a couple of fantastic stories. He gives some advice and some ideas that he finds very important. Same that I do in terms of how we made it to where we are in our respective fields. A huge thank you to you guys who are watching this on YouTube. We did, in fact, hit our goal. We actually surpassed our goal. We hit 52 subscribers before even this weekend. It was a nice little surprise, a nice little joyful moment for me. I did get a little emotional, and I appreciate everything you guys have done for me to help grow this podcast. And hopefully we can go even further in 2021 and grow this into a huge platform. Let's make it big. Let's make it really big. Also, be on the lookout for some new stuff from Gunpowder Empire. Sean and I had a couple conversations over the weekend, and we're looking forward to making something really big happen here in the next few weeks. It should be fun. We're working with some amazing artists to get some material out there to you guys, and be ready to see what's coming for Gunpowder Empire. I'm looking forward to that as well. And we're hoping that 2021 is another year of growth for us and progression. We're really excited to see how things change and develop for the music scene as 2021 rolls into the view, and we'll see what happens from there. With that being said, Josh Dover and I would like to steal a moment. How have things been? How is the radio world right now through this crazy time period? Is it weird not being in the same room with Ryan and Scott?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. What are we, 10, 11 months into it, it feels like now.
Yeah.
So gotten used to it a little bit, but it's not ideal. The energy's not the same. You don't get to sit next to them and talk in the break and what you want to do next and all that stuff. So you get used to it, and they give us some pretty cool equipment to bring home and all that stuff. So it's, I wouldn't choose it, but it's, at least we're on, we actually haven't been off air throughout the entire pandemic. So we've been able to have some fun talking Tiger King and bullcrap like that. Can we cuss? I don't know if we can cuss.
Yeah, dude, this is my show, so you can cuss all you want.
I was going to say bullshit with that, but, it's not the same, but we've adjusted.
Yeah, you know, it's weird because even like in the music scene right now, we're trying to adjust and figure out how to make it work so that we can, you know, do live shows. And,
Oh yeah.
you know, we don't even know if that's going to be a thing in 2021 even yet. And so, you know, switching
Studios
to,
open and stuff just to
uh,
make music.
yeah, so studios are open. We actually just released a new song a couple weeks ago, released a video for it on Wednesday. And then we have another one coming out at the end of this month that we recorded back in like May or June, but then we're going back in January or February, hopefully, if we have new material written. But yeah, no, so studios are still open, but like it's hard to promote something when you know have to kind of social distance to shoot a music video even right now. So that's been nuts. But as some of you guys know, Josh Dover is one of the masters in the midday show.
Us.
Yes, on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Previous guest Ryan Harris is one of his fellow co-hosts. So I got 2/3 of the Masters of the Midday now. Still working on Scotty. He's a hard one to get.
He'll be the toughest. Yeah, he'll be the toughest for sure.
Yeah. But Josh was also one of my teachers and also the leader of my internship when I was at the Colorado Media School. So you're part of the reason why I do this now. So thank you.
Of course. Yeah, we go way back. I thought I forgot about the internship, but it was just like you were there as an employee basically every day. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Who was on that? It was on Kreckman and Harris. Actually.
It was on Kreckman and Harris. And it's funny, a couple of my coworkers listen to Kreckman and Harris while they're working, and I get updates all the time because I'm not always listening. I'm working on all my other stuff while I'm working at my other job. Don't tell my real job. But
they know. They expect that.
Yeah, we're all working from home. They know. But in the vein of sports, as we see this this world transitioning back in, the NBA is getting ready to kick back into full gear here with a December 22nd start date still, right?
Yep.
How are you feeling about what they're planning on doing, and what do you think for the Denver Nuggets specifically, since that's our hometown team here? What do you think this season is going to look like for them and the NBA?
Man, it's well, I'm bummed I got to work on Christmas. That's first and foremost, selfishly thinking of myself.
Yeah.
But I'm actually a little worried, Michael, to be honest, man. It's because we're seeing what's happening in the NFL, right? And I get it. It's much more bodies that you have to account for in the NFL. But it's also much more games, right? So lack of bodies, you make up for more games in the NBA. So you're talking about 4 games a week sometimes for these guys. So you're going to tell me you're going to go 72 games and not every team is going to go through a week, 2, maybe a month where you got 6 of your 14 guys on the roster that have tested positive for COVID. You know, it's inevitable at this point. So I'm a little bit worried about it, to be honest. With the Olympics pressed up, which is why they're going to 72 games in the first place, I think that makes it even more difficult because you could have I like what the NHL does. They give their guys a bye week. Like you could have planned for some things like that if you weren't trying to satisfy the Olympics, which I get it. Obviously, Team America, right? But I'm worried that they're not going to be able to, one, play 72, get fans back because I'm like you too. If I ever get a damn night off of work, I like to go and drink a beer and watch a game too. And then you talk about not satisfying your TV partners with the 72-game broadcast schedule. There's a lot up in the air, man, that could really fuck up a lot of people's finances and all of that stuff moving forward that goes with professional sports. But as far as the Nuggets, I'm hopeful. I'm not as down as a lot of Nuggets fans were, dude, about free agency, losing Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee. I like both those guys, but you get JaMychal Finley from the Clippers.
Yep.
And him and Jeremy Grant literally have this identical stat line. And in fact, or it's Michael Green, excuse me.
Yeah.
Green averages like 4 more rebounds a game, if I remember right off the top of my head, than Grant does. Plus, you're saving $11 million annually, so that doesn't hurt either. So, you know, Jeremy Grant chose to go get buckets. You can't blame a dude for wanting to bet on himself and have a bigger role. A little worried about Michael Porter Jr.'s development. I guess is how I'm going to call it, because I'm not sure Coach Michael Malone trusts the dude still at all, but he's going to be forced, man. I mean, Tim Conley, we were talking about it on our show, playing some of Conley's stuff from the media session right here on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
But Conley basically said, hey, Coach Malone's got to figure out a way to get Michael Porter Jr. in the game and keep him in the game. I just don't think Coach Malone wants to do that, to be honest, because he makes too many mistakes. So that's going to be a battle too. If MPJ takes a big step, we won't even notice the absence of guys like Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee. But if he doesn't, and you're relying on the rookie Zeke Naji and Bol, who's, he's got some potential for sure, but he's about as thick as this cord.
Right.
That's going to be some trouble,
Right. And that's the other side I was going to go to was that they locked up Bol, took away that two-way, made him a player on the roster officially now. And, you lose Mason Plumlee, but you gain that size, you gain some skills. And again, he is no Da Vinci by any stretch of the imagination. He's definitely a work in progress, but I'd be interested to see how they rotate him in there. And then, I actually really like the Green pickup. I think that was a nice addition. And exactly, I think you're right. The rebounding, specifically, I think offensive rebounding too, because he's going to be inside. We have Harrison Murray to run the outside.
Yeah.
You've got guys who can shoot threes, and it was fun to watch Grant dunk. It's fun to watch Grant be aggressive defensively, but you get an upgrade at a different stat line that you needed more than anything, because that's what beat us in the Lakers series really is offensive rebounding. Dwight Howard. I don't even want to talk about Dwight Howard right now.
At least he has to go be Joel Embiid's teammate now. That can't be fun.
No, I'm sure Embiid
with the Nuggets now, like, it's, speaking of Scott Hastings, it's the Hastings theory. He always says, he said for 4 or 5 years now, it's a race to 120. That's how you win NBA games now. And Torrey Craig was another one we didn't mention. He goes to Milwaukee. He was super pissed about that too. But he goes to Milwaukee and you lose Mason Plumlee, pretty much, your rim protector, kind of, if you will, but the best that they had. The Nuggets are now, not that they were a defensive team before, but they're now for sure like an offensive team. So they have to run and get buckets.
That is very true. Very true. You were talking about COVID. The storyline of the COVID incident of the NFL this last weekend was the bias of the Denver Broncos being forced to play with a guy who hasn't thrown a touchdown pass, as I believe Brendan Perna put it, since 2017, and hadn't thrown a football except after a catch at practice squad this entire year, and it was essentially thrown into nothing.
Yeah.
Do you think that if Denver was in a position like a Kansas City or a Miami, where they're in a potential playoff race, do they play on Sunday, or do they get pushed to Wednesday afternoon to not mess with the Rockefeller Center ceremony, tree lighting ceremony?
To be fair, that freaking tree lighting ceremony rips. It's pretty good, it's pretty good. But
legit.
Yeah, man, I said on our show, I'm like, the Broncos, first of all, did they fuck up? Of course. You got to be smarter about it. They did everything right except one thing. Like, you ask for permission, you're coming in on your day off, you're gathering to watch film, and then you don't wear a mask. Right? Like, sure, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right? We all seen those dentist commercials, but you can't do 3 out of 4 with this disease and virus, and especially in pro sports right now. So I'm not going to kill the dudes for doing it, the quarterbacks. It was irresponsible. Have I been irresponsible during COVID? Yeah, I probably have. Have you? I'm not going to speak for you, but I bet you have,
I did fly last week for Thanksgiving. Right. I pulled a Mayor Hancock, so.
Well, at least you weren't speaking to the world that not, and then.
Yeah, no, true.
But, that's what I mean. They made a mistake. It's a big one. It literally cost them a game, because you're right. Roger Goodell bent the Broncos over his knee and spanked them on national TV. That's what he did to show his other kids that you can't do this when you live in my household. That's basically what it was. So, yeah, it was embarrassing. And I got another stat for you too. Kendall Hinton has not thrown a touchdown pass in a very, very long time, but he has actually thrown a touchdown pass more recently than Taysom Hill.
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's they're about on the same page there.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
It's like 2016 for Taysom Hill when he's at BYU still, and then 2017 Wake Forest for for Hinton.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Josh Dover, everybody, the man of stats right here. So to kind of backtrack in a little bit of history here. So you were originally born in Indiana, right? And then grew up in North Denver?
Well, Seymour, Indiana is where I was born. And then
Okay.
I was there not long, 9 years old. No, 7 or 8 years old. And I actually moved to Florida.
Oh, okay.
Military and finished up out there. And then my mom is from here and like all of my family. So when my dad got out, we came back here, and I was 9, and I've been here ever since. So I basically grew up here, North Denver.
Yeah, for all of you who don't listen to Altitude, those of you who are not in Colorado, he reps North Glen like everybody should rep North Glen.
Right.
I'm a Denver kid, but North Glen Norse for life, my friend, right?
Thornton, you are the armpit of this state, so don't say nothing.
Man, I got friends from Thornton who agree with you, so don't even worry about it. But that leads to my next question. How does it feel right now being a Colts fan and cheering for Phillip Rivers?
It's a little weird. And dude, I'll tell you, I was a skeptic for sure coming in thinking, one, if the Chargers don't want you, then what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right. Fuck Spanos, by the way.
Yeah, right. And then thinking, oh man, he's gonna have nothing left. They're already, don't have a ton of wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton, certainly not the T.Y. Hilton from a few years ago. And you're like, well, they're probably gonna have a decent defense, but I didn't think it'd be anything that it was right now. I mean, they're the best defense in the league in most statistical categories, not just passing the eye test. So I'm still like, I think I'm like any fan, right? I'm like, I'm not going to fully believe because then when I do, you're going to break my heart in half. But I'm excited because, yeah, it's been so much more fun watching. I used to just watch the Colts games on Game Pass so I could get that shit over in 30 minutes. Now I'm recording it on the DVR and going back and watching the actual game. So I'm not sure they're more than, a first-round playoff team, but shit, man, you know what it's like being a Broncos country. I'll take a first-round playoff team for sure.
Oh, hell yeah. And you got over there, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I got Hines and Pittman Jr. on that fantasy team right now, praying that they get me points because I made the right choice pulling Judy out the last minute. My team's name is Judge Judy.
Oh,
so I'm actually in a league with Davey B.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
He lives in Tennessee now, so he gets to suffer with Titans fans.
I just saw his dumbass on social media like narrating Colorado man laughs at Tennessee's snowstorm or something like that.
Yeah, because it was nothing, man. It was ridiculous. And he's from Massachusetts originally, so like he knows what actual snow looks like. And so when people were freaking out in Tennessee over a dusting, he was like, "This is
plus
nuts."
That Naheem Himes.
Yeah,
if anybody's doing like I don't even know what that is. Some sort of aerial somersault, flip forward. Anybody that can do that, even if it wasn't a Colt, I'd still be rolling with that dude.
Oh yeah, dude, for real. That's an athlete right there. Yeah. Also, speaking of athletes, how hard has it been without being able to play any king of pickup basketball here in Denver?
Yeah.
Basketball champ.
Right there. Look, I got my hoop up there. Oh, also next to my CBA, not the humble brag it, but it sucks, dude. I got a little court down the street here on this little trail that people run on. But like back in March when all this shit started, they like put police caution tape around like somebody got murdered there. But then they took that down and I was able to shoot a couple of times. The rec league actually picked back up and then shut down 2 weeks later. It was like just a tease. They just gave us the tip to see what it felt like, and it was just gone.
Well, so so this is where I live now. This is my girlfriend's apartment. I know.
I love the Marvel in the back too.
Yeah, dude. This is no joke. The first time I came over here was our first date, and I walked in and I saw this, and I was like, and then she's got a PS4 down here, and I was like, I'm dating a nerd. This is awesome. So, but yeah, I moved in officially in October and have been shooting here. Like I moved in essentially when the pandemic hit. So I'm living in downtown Denver. I'm in Brooks Tower.
Oh, damn.
So I'm like, I got
the right part of it.
Yeah. And Sam's like delivers over here because I'm right catty corner from Sam's number 3. So if you want to sponsor me, Sam's, just know I will shout you out all the time.
So shit got crazy probably for you guys, huh?
Yeah. So we started dating in January and like out of the blue, this shit happened, and we were like, well, it's make it or break it. Either we be adults and see how this goes, or figure out how to make it work. And now I'm here.
Yeah, we're either
permanently.
going to get married or I'm going to kill you at some point.
Exactly. But it's crazy being in downtown Denver right now, like with the way everything, like I was down here for everything. So it's been a tumultuous year in the world in general for all of us. And this, COVID on top of everything else that's happening, how has that affected your narrative on the radio through this time period? Because I know I listened early on when everything was going on with the protests, because I really wanted to hear what Ryan had to say and listen to you guys as a group, because I honestly think you three have a very interesting dynamic with each other, as well as a nice broad range of voices to talk about these. I mean, you, myself, and Ryan are all around the same age, and then you have Scott, who's grandpa. But like, how did that change the narrative of what you guys talked about in this year alone as a whole?
I learned a lot actually about it. I mean, with what you've done in your background in media and going to school and all that stuff, of how we watched that, right? Obviously, ratings rule the world, and our traits and trends and everything that goes into what we look at.
Definitely.
And yeah, I mean, I appreciate you saying that, because it's hopefully what we're going for, right? A guy, like I said, we're all in the same age group, but obviously Ryan's an African-American man. Scott's a 60-year-old white guy. And they've also both had a lot of money for basically all of their adult lives. And I have yet to achieve that.
Same here.
Yes. But yeah, we talked a lot about it. We tried to mix in sports, but this is also a time where, as there wasn't a whole lot of sports happening, right? We're talking about Korean baseball and shit, getting up at 3:30 in the morning to watch a game. So we talked about it, and to be honest, I mean, I don't know how long ago you had Ryan on, but we took a bit of a hit because of that, based of our numbers, right? Ratings and things. And it makes some sense, right? You driving around in your car, listening to the radio from work or wherever you may have come, and you're talking about the protests, and you look for a break and an outlet and something like that. And that's sports talk radio. That's your podcast. That's whatever it is you find, before our former favorite comedian went weird, that was that podcast, and those kind of situations. I did say, though, a couple times, Michael, it's somewhere where if our numbers were going to take a hit, at least it was on that. Like, I would rather have talked about it, and even more importantly, given Ryan a platform to talk about it, and lose a point in a rating share for a month, than not talk about it and then go, damn, man, we had a platform and didn't say shit. You know what I mean? So we learned from it for sure. We still talk about it, but we had months, not months, I'd say weeks, where that was our show. I mean, that's what we talked about. And we don't do that now. Obviously, there's sports back, and you get to talk about that, so we get to be that full outlet. But yeah, it was something that we learned from. I'm grateful that, again, we got to keep working, because that's first and foremost. So many people didn't get to have that opportunity. And I'm grateful that we have a boss like Dave that that gave us that and said, hey, talk about it. Let's see what happens. All right, we took a little bit of a hit. Let's probably not talk about that as much anymore. But I think it was something, not that I'm not a role model by any means.
Taking the Barkley approach. I see. Okay.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? That some people do turn on the radio and look for a little bit of guidance from somebody that they might like, or some gal that they might like from a radio show. So if we could give them some perspective from a 36-year-old single dudes with not a lot of money, a 6-year-old white guy with some money, and a 36-year-old African-American man with some money, then I think that would help a little bit. So that was kind of our approach.
Yeah, man. And that's, that's the important thing, is like, I took the time to reach out to a lot of different people within different realms of the world. I talked to Ryan like right as the tail end of the worst portions of the protests in Denver were going on.
Yeah.
And he was actually my third guest on the entire show. This is my 22nd episode that I'm recording. I don't know if it'll be the 22nd episode, but what's interesting is, like, listening to him talk and describe the situations that, people face that we don't even think about because we never had to think about them until now. And, it's one of those things like, I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I make enough, and I'm super lucky I got to keep my job through all of this. Honestly, the only department in Comcast that did not get hit was the traffic department because
Oh, damn, really?
because advertising is important.
Right.
We lost a lot of money because of the cancellation of the Olympics and March Madness.
Yeah.
But we had to continue to figure out how to keep going forward. And one of the things the company did, and I'm going to talk to a few different people about this in the near future, is they started a diversity in employment initiative. And it's led by a guy I used to serve coffee to at Starbucks.
No way.
Yeah. And he's the head of this division. And it essentially every quarter we have a town hall where we can essentially voice our opinions on how the company is handling social situations and what they're doing to improve the work environment for all people. Because one of the things Comcast preaches is inclusivity. It is a very diverse company with very diverse employee base. And so to have that opportunity to have those discussions and be open without judgment is amazing. And I can definitely appreciate Dave giving you guys the opportunity to see what happens and take that hit, especially with Ryan on your team. Like, he is a voice that people listen to. Ryan is a powerful, powerful individual. You drive that show, so therefore you have a voice because people listen to you. Now, granted, you are the master of starting shit on Twitter with people who don't have actual opinions. They just like to recite and regurgitate shit. I'm not going to call out anybody in particular because one of the guests I'm trying to get on is a fan of said podcast.
Also, that's what the website's for, in my opinion. So
yeah, exactly. But that's the thing is like, I think to actually dovetail back to our mutual favorite comedian who fell off the wagon a little bit and turned into a very strange individual, which we kind of should have seen coming. That gets into this idea of cancel culture. And it's something I've talked to a lot of people in media. I talked to Tim Gelt, who used to work for the Denver Nuggets.
My guy.
Yeah, he's a great dude. We have mutual friends because we're Mullen alums. Yeah, he just got engaged a few months ago.
Married, yeah, I was gonna say he's getting married.
Yeah, Nicole's awesome. She's super sweet. But we talked about cancel culture and how it's kind of affected the world right now. Like, to get topical, that'll be out of topic when I actually air this. The Elliot Page situation where like lesbians are canceling him because they went from being a female lesbian to a transgender male, or non-binary, I guess, with the he and they pronouns. But like, that's another thing that's going on in this world right now. How are you seeing that in, say, like the sports world or in the world of social media as a member of the media?
I mean, it's there for sure. You just got to be very aware of it. I actually think it's there's still examples, and obviously we're dealing with one within the last 48 hours with what you just mentioned, but I kind of think it's dialed back a little bit with kind of the pandemic and some things. I just think you have to be super cautious. We saw, heck, a radio guy right here in this town happened to type an N-word, trying to type another N-word on social media, and I honestly don't know if anything came of that.
I don't think so, because he got in front of it and did everything he could to get it right. Okay. If it's who I think we're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah. But then there was another guy, I believe, a Charlotte Bobcats broadcaster that literally did the same exact thing and lost his job for it. Graham up in Sacramento, who's literally been the voice of the Kings for 15 years, popped off back at Boogie Cousins and lost his job because of that. And Graham's got to be so much smarter than that, because Boogie did Boogie took a shot, Graham took the bait, Boogie reeled him in, and now we don't have a job. I mean,
Yep.
we shouldn't have done it. You have to be aware of it. I'm not for it, man. We're humans. So by nature, we're stupid. And we're
Facts.
going to make mistakes. And the key is to just not keep making the same mistake. You got to fail. That's a big part of everything that you do. And if you keep failing in the same fashion, that's where I think we have a problem. But if you kill someone for failing, then eliminate the human race, because that's what we're destined to do, is fail and then learn from it. So I'm not with it at all.
No, and I'm not either. The thing about it is like, it seems to be a parroting situation where like it's the same concept as like, we grew up in, everybody in our generation hates Nickelback. But
Yeah.
everybody has sung Photograph at least once in their life.
Yeah.
And that's the example I give. It's like, everybody hates what everybody likes. And, just because somebody changes their mind about something, or somebody feels more natural in a different situation, does not mean that they suck as a person. They've figured something out. Weird concept.
Mm-hmm.
Or, someone makes a mistake. Like Josh Hader made a mistake. He made a tweet when he was 18 years old. And people were like, he needs to lose his job. But Roberto Osuna beats his wife and gets traded to a World Series champion.
Yep.
Like, there's such a dichotomy, and it fucking makes me angry because, if you and I had Twitter when we were 12, exactly, like the shit we'd said, no, like, come on.
Everybody lives in such a glass house, especially that cancel culture of, and this is the other thing I get, like, do something else besides go through somebody's history on a stupid ass website and try to bring them down. You know what I mean? Like, do something else. Call your mother, call your father, go for a run. But if somebody else were to be that much of a fucking loser to go all the way back and try to bury someone, what if somebody else did that to them? So you've walked on eggshells your entire life, and you've done everything perfect. Because you're absolutely right. I'll tell you this. If I had social media when I was in high school, I wouldn't, there's no chance I'd have a job talking on the radio today.
Facts.
And it's just ridiculous. I was in high school. Fast forward, my early 20s, if there was social media, I'm actually fortunate that I wasn't on it early. In fact, if I didn't have the job that I had, I probably wouldn't even fuck with it.
Same.
We're all stupid again, and we say dumb things, and you get around people that you think you're comfortable with. That's the problem, Michael, is not that it was okay that people were saying these things, because they were, and they will continue to. Now you get so comfortable on this, you think that that's your safe space, and you'll just rip shit off. And that's another big problem.
Oh yeah. And that's the other part too. Exactly. You feel like because you're anonymous, you can say whatever you want. And that's what I think a lot of people are doing now, which is creating this problem. And what's amazing to me is, like, I avoid Twitter like the plague. I'm not going to lie. I have one. The only time I ever post on it anymore is when I have games for high school broadcasts. Like if I'm doing a football or basketball game, I will tweet that out and that's it. But I used to jump on trolls, and I used to be that guy who would be like, well, technically, I was the actually guy.
Yeah.
And I realized how toxic it was, and it was bad. The amount of things I've written on Facebook and deleted in the last 4 years would get me fired.
It might be my mid-30s talking, but if I probably would only have Facebook, and that's like to see my friends' kids' pictures. You know what I mean? Like, see my sister's kids and all that stuff. That'd pretty much be it.
Yeah, I mean, I just my sister had a niece. I have a niece. My sister had a daughter in July. So thank you. I'm an uncle. It's weird.
I only have one biological sister and a whole bunch of others, but she just had a baby in October, the day before Halloween.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, dude.
See, we're human beings. We have families. We have actual lives outside of this. But that's the thing, is like, now that I have a platform where I can talk freely, I'm still careful about what I say, but I'm a little more open about how I feel about things. And I'm a more direct speaker now because I've been doing this, for almost 3-4 months now where I've had a show.
Yeah.
The other thing too is at the media school, one of the first things they tell you to do, like day 2 or 3, Cub Buning said, if you have anything that could potentially get you fired from a job on your social media,
Type it out.
delete that shit.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not popular enough to have morons go through and screenshot shit for us. Well,
Mhm.
me, I don't know about you, but not me.
I've had some not a lot of Twitters. I mean, I've gotten in my fair share of trouble on Twitter with my employer, but not for insensitive. That's not true, actually. Not for like, not racial, sexual type of things.
Right.
I've
Go-
tweeted players, and that's gotten me in trouble before. And it's it's sort of that same thing of you shouldn't be. I almost feel like I'm talking to children here as we're telling people how to use social media. You shouldn't have to go back and go, did I say something that could cost me a job? Any job, not just media,
Yeah.
not for working at Altitude or Comcast or Walmart. Like you
Right.
should have something on your phone that could get you fired from a job. I just don't get that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Speaking of social media beefs, I've been wanting you to tell this story forever, and you know where I'm going with this. I want to know, and I want my audience to know, the JaVale McGee story and the fact that that name just incites something inside of you. I've seen this on air live, this conversation, because Ryan used to poke you with it when you were the EP of the Kreckman and Ayers show. And the breakdown, I believe it's Shaq, goes, JaVale McGee.
Yeah.
Thank you, Spring, for putting that in my head forever. Tell me this story so my audience can enjoy it as much as I did the first time I heard it.
So I'll start this by saying I always wanted to be a professional basketball player. I am not fast, tall, strong, any of the things that you require to be a professional basketball player. So JaVale McGee comes to the Nuggets, right? And you don't know much about JaVale McGee ahead of coming to the Nuggets except for Shaqtin' a fool. He's running the wrong way as a Washington Wizard like an asshole. That's pretty much it, right? He comes, they go on this tear, and I know you remember, and JaVale crushes everybody likes to say, oh, he was great in that Lakers series. He was great for 3 games. And great might be strong. He was good for 3 games. But nonetheless, to his credit, Masai Ujiri paid him big, $44 million big. This is back, dude, I was probably, I'm almost 11 years into media. I was probably 4 years in at this point. And I was writing some articles for milehighsports.com and Mile High Sports Magazine. And I went to, I think it was Nuggets Media Day, to be honest, right after JaVale gets this big deal. And this is how old it was. We didn't have recorders on our phone. I'm like literally holding a recorder to JaVale's face. And I said, like, hey, man, you just got a big contract. What are you going to do to help elevate your game this year to, show Masai and the team that they did the right thing? This guy literally fucking says, I'm going to go out there and give it 100% as opposed to the 80. And he stopped. And I'm like, recorder still. Like, he realized what he was doing. He was about to tell me he gave it 80% last year. I had it on my recorder. I'm sure it's still, I have to dig up the recorder. So I went and wrote, right? I went and write a story of, hey, JaVale McGee got this big deal. Talked to him today at Media Day. Said, I'm going to go 100%. Me writing, well, he clearly wasn't going 80% or, just going 80% last year. And gave him a little bit of love of like, well, shit, if he can do what he did in the Lakers at 80%, let's get him at 100% for 82 nights a year. This fucking might work out. I didn't say fucking in the article.
Right. That would have been great, though. It was Mile High Sports back in the day, though, so you might have gotten away with it.
Maybe. This was actually one of the cooler, like, you still kind of geek out on some of the shit I get to do for my job, right?
Oh, yeah.
You go to practice the next couple of days, and my article was in his locker. So I'm kind of like, oh, shit, that is cool. And then I'm also like, damn, is he going to put the 2 and 2 together when I'm standing next to him, right? That I'm that guy. He totally did. And, we didn't like get into it, but he said, hey, you wrote the article. And I was like, yeah, you gave the quote. Like, that's how it works,
Yeah.
And then it kind of dies, right? He gets traded. He leaves from Denver. And maybe he was a Warrior at
I
this
think he was with the Warriors.
and Wancho was still with the Nuggets. And Wancho's a lovable loser, right? And I mean that most respectful of all ways.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loved Wancho. And it was JaVale McGee's punk ass dunks on Juancho Hernan-Gomez, and then like yells like this close, face to face, yells in his face. And I was being kind of snarky and sarcastic on Twitter, which is what the website's for, and said, there's reason number 1,348 that I want to punch JaVale McGee in the face. And that's all I wrote. I didn't write at JaVale McGee 34 or whatever his stupid handle is. Like I don't know.
Come on, man. Come on. I know you know. I know you know.
And I wrote just that. So, whatever. Fucking night goes on. I go to sleep. Wake up. Mentions are blown up. I'm like, damn, what happened to my Twitter last night? He had searched his own name, which again, this is some real beast shit anyway.
Yeah.
Search your own name on Twitter and replied to me, well, let's throw these hands then. And then it's the same thing. Of course, I'm going to have fun with it. And I believe I wrote, see me in the North Glen streets, to be honest. And that was our last interaction.
And if I'm not mistaken, while I was there and this story came up, Ryan said to you, and I roughly paraphrase because I can't quote, he would beat you within an inch of your life before you got within an inch of his hands.
Dude, his reach is the size of my body. He would totally kill me, but my fucking career would skyrocket.
Yep, everybody would know who you are.
Yep.
The analyst who tried to fight JaVale McGee. Oh man, that's so good. Did you watch the Nate Robinson Jake Paul fight?
Oh hell yeah.
I did not, but I watched a replay of it and it glitched. Like the video I watched, literally Jake Paul hits him, it glitches, and he falls. That's what happened. Now I love Nate Robinson, man, but how do you feel about how the meme world has treated Nate Robinson through all this?
It's, who the only two people in the world are happy that we're in a global pandemic? It's Nate Robinson's two high school sons, because they don't have to go to school and face the just rude, harsh behavior that high school children would be giving them right now. I mean, it sucks, dude, but it's also, one, Nate Robinson clearly did absolutely no training for that thing.
No.
And Jake or Paul, Logan, whatever the hell.
The one Paul brother who shouldn't have even been in there because he should be in jail.
Right. Clearly did do some training though.
Oh yeah. And
took it about as serious as you could take a undercard of a, celebrity boxing pay-per-view match.
Tie.
I don't necessarily feel too bad for Nate because he kind of made his bed. When he was a Nugget too, by the way, I tried to, when I was producing radio, I'm like, you'll go to a practice, try to get as many phone numbers of players as you can so you could go around PR. And that's the job of a producer.
Facts.
So I tried to hit up Nate like right when he came, like, yo, can I get your number? Come do radio shit. I don't even know where I was at the time. And he's like, yeah, talk to the guy over there. And I'm like, I'm trying to go around PR. It wasn't PR. He had hired like his own dude, and he would have done all the radio hits that he wanted, but we had to promote this clothing line that Nate was gonna run.
Okay.
And it was such trash shit. I'm like, dude, you know what? Never mind.
Never mind, dude.
Never
mind. Yeah, I'm learning that right now, big time by trying to get guests. It's been tough getting some of the people that I want. Reaching out directly to them. I've been directed to agents for a couple of guys. I'm not going to name names, but one of the first guests he was like, I'm totally down. Here's my agent's information. Sounds like a great idea. I love helping the little guy. Like, let's do this. I called his agent 7 times in like a month and got voicemailed every time. I left a message every time. And I was like, you know what? Clearly this ain't gonna happen. Yeah. So I hit said person up again directly. And I was like, hey man, like, I don't know if your agent doesn't know that I'm calling or if like this is only his office number and there's a pandemic and I can't really talk to him. And he was like, oh, I just got really busy all of a sudden, so I can't do it. And I was like, all right, man, cool. Like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's like, well, if we're not going to make money off of this.
Yep, exactly. I think that's pretty much it. But one of my next interviews coming up is Benny Fowler of the.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I saw you read his book, right?
Yeah. So randomly, like, Facebook has been giving me famous people lately. Like, yeah, like I have Dalton Reisner's direct page, and he's like, hey man, send me to your talk to my agency. They'll see what they can do. It'll have to be after the season. I'm like, that's totally fine. Great. But I just randomly added him on Facebook a couple 2 weeks ago. And I was like, hey man, I have this podcast. I love talking to athletes who are in the midst of their career. If you have anything to promote, I love to promote things. And he's like, yeah, sure. Weekends work for me right now since I'm on IR. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And he's like, I also wrote a book. You should read it. And so while I was in Pennsylvania, I read it in 2 days. Yeah. It's called Silver Spoon.
Yeah, he came on our show and promoted it too a little bit, actually.
Yeah, and it's great. And he talks about I will tell you this, he changed my mind on Draymond Green as a person.
That's what I saw you posting on Twitter or social media, and that's what made me remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So I posted that on Twitter because I wanted to @ Benny and @ Draymond just to kind of try and maybe open that door a little bit. But he talks about Draymond's leadership and how and you know what? I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I read that. If you think about it, the series that they lost wasn't because Durant wasn't there to the Cavs. It was because Draymond wasn't there. And, he may be a tenacious dickhead on the court who kicks literal dickheads on the court. But
that's why he wasn't there.
Yeah. But that's the thing is he added that level of tenacity and that level of aggression and leadership. And Benny quotes Steph Curry in the book as saying the guy who gets the most out of us when we're tired is Draymond. He gives us that extra boost when we don't feel like we can push to that next gear, and he does. And I was like, damn, are they talking about the same loudmouth guy who I hate watching for the Warriors? Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay. All right, I see it.
I mean, that's every team. We had Doc Rivers on a month or two ago, and he was talking about role players, role guys. You hear a lot about it now, but Doc, when he played, was a role guy.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't really a big, you weren't carved out as a role guy back then, right? It's just kind of what you did. But he said it's hard to accept that kind of thing. But you look at a dude like Draymond Green, and I'm with you. I fucking hate watching the guy play. But every team, it's that thing like Russell Westbrook has, right? You hate him until he's on your team.
Right.
And I'm going to ride with this dude. That's what Draymond is too. And every team needs that. I mean, to go back full circle to the Nuggets. You know what the Nuggets need? They need a damn Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Honestly, they still need something like that this year. I really wanted him to go chase Jay Crowder.
Oh, dude. Could you imagine?
Same similar role,
yeah.
Right? But, I get it. I understand why Draymond and even guys like Russell Westbrook piss people off, but every championship team has a guy like that.
Yeah,
Every shit, every business I would say has that. Every successful organization has somebody like that that's going, all right, I'll do the dirty work, and I don't even give a shit if I get the credit.
Right, and think about look at Scotty's teams with the Pistons, man.
Yeah,
you had Bill Laimbeer, but you had Dennis Rodman, who did not. He says in his books, I read Bad as I Want to Be. He says, I could go out and score 25 points a night, but you know what? I don't give a shit. I would rather get 22 rebounds and give my team more opportunities to score.
Dude,
because that's better.
Sorry to cut you off. One of the cool stories that Scotty ever told me about Dennis was, and this Scotty knew Dennis before we knew Dennis, right?
Right.
Scotty knew Dennis Rodman, the basketball player, not the dude that married himself and was banging Madonna.
Right.
Practice, right. Scotty was a guy like that too. He didn't do anything. Scotty's biggest job in the NBA was to go get after folks at practice to make them better for games, right? And the reason Scott was so successful, I mean, dude, he played 12 years in the NBA. You're not good at your job if you do that.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons Scotty did that was because of that. But he used to tell me, and he'll still tell us on air sometimes, that, you know, they'd do their shoot around, they'd work out before the game and all that shit. Then the guys would play, and the stars like Dennis would play 35 to 42 minutes a night. And Dennis would come in, and some guys like Scotty, and if John Sally didn't get to play a bunch of minutes, they'd work out after the game too. Dennis would come in every night, no matter who was in that workout room, and work out post game with all of those guys, just to be amongst all of those guys. And I'm like, I mean, that right there tells you the mindset of a dude that knows how important team is. And even 14th man on the bench, Scott Hastings, needs to feel like he's a part of that. And Dennis Rodman went out his way to make him feel that way. And that's the same thing. I'll ride with guys like that all day. Right.
And Scotty, I think, told a story on air once when I was listening to you guys about it was between, like, it was preseason, and they were getting ready to do roster cuts, and it was between him and like a star veteran or a veteran player that had been in the league who was an established name. And because Scotty busted his ass on the court, he beat that dude out for a roster spot and got him cut.
Yeah.
And that's in life. Like, if you think about it, like, I'm not a manager in my job, but I see myself as a leader because I put myself in that position where I don't need the recognition for everything, but I will gladly teach somebody how to do my job and help me move them forward, because nothing's guaranteed. Nothing. Like, I could get fired tomorrow, but if I leave my team worse off by losing me, then, you know, worse off by losing me and not me passing on that information to other people, that makes them bad and me look awful. Yeah. You know, I'm proud of the fact that I'm willing to take someone under my wing and be like, this is how I see it. This is how it works. If you have ways to improve it, let's work together and build this into something bigger. And I think that's something that, you know, is a skill I learned in sports. I wanted to be a professional athlete too, but I stopped growing freshman year of high school. and basketball was my second sport. Soccer was my first sport. But I can hit a 15-foot jump shot all day long if I'm uncovered and can find space. But I played defense. That was my job. I was a shutdown defender. You put me on the best player on that team when I was in high school, not so much now. But you put me in front of him for 9 minutes, you shut him down. We scored 10 points. We're now in the lead by 10 or erasing a deficit. You know, and that's the thing. Like, I think life needs role players as much as anything. We all need to work together. I think that's one of the things we can take away from the teams that win sports. Mm-hmm. If you look at this year's champions, for instance, like, yes, the Lakers have LeBron, but they were built around a bunch of players. You had LeBron, you had a healthy AD, you had playoff Rondo.
Dude, think about this. You want to talk about role players? Fucking Alex Caruso.
Yeah, the guy who looks like he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what you were saying about sports, and I was gonna say just the media thing, but almost translated to any, especially if you're working in a field and that's going to be what you do for the rest of your life.
Right.
I mean, I'll use it for myself. When I started in media, I was doing updates, right? That barely even exists anymore. But I always thought I want to do the best update I can, because at some point I'm going to be a producer, and then I want the update anchor to be giving me their best shit. So like I wanted to do so therefore that I could expect once I grow, and then as a producer, I want to be the best producer I could be, because when I'm a host, I want my producer to be the best producer that they could be, because I know that they can, because I did. And if I ever get out of hosting, right, and I go to programming, I want my hosts to work as hard as I work, because that's what I did. And I just think too many people, and I'll get it. I'll tell you the first one, before I got into media, I had a bunch of jobs where I was like, fuck this. I'm going through the motions, giving my paycheck every 2 weeks. Let's go. But too many people do that. There's no more, I mean, shit. There's no more sense of pride, hardly much, but especially when it comes to work ethic and things like that.
Oh man, 100%. And you know what? I take full responsibility for the fact that I had lack of work ethic in certain aspects of many jobs that I've had. And I will admit this when I say this, that I think I did not have enough work ethic to be in the radio side of things. I didn't take enough initiative while I was at altitude, in my personal opinion, to, I did certain things really, really well, but I didn't take the time to learn other aspects of the job. And, it's funny because now that I do this and I edit all my own stuff, I take the skills that I learned from media school and working in altitude, cutting Brock Olivo audio.
I haven't heard that name in so long.
22 Janos, man. 22 Janos. But that, like, those skills I use now. If I could have taken more time and like worked with Spring and working on the boards and not said shit my second day in the office on air by accident, or, taken more opportunities that came when they did, I think I would be in a different position. But I will say that I think I'm where I'm supposed to be in a lot of ways, because with that opportunity, essentially that missed opportunity, I'm now doing what I originally wanted to do when I went to the media school. I get to call high school games every weekend for some of the best schools in the state, and that's fun for me. But I'm also able to play in a band and do a podcast and enjoy other aspects that I don't know if I necessarily would have had I been a producer or an engineer. What's really great is I've developed a really good relationship with Steve Nelson.
Oh, Steve's my man, dude. I love Steve.
Fun fact, we go to the same studio. We record all of our music at the same studio. Yeah.
I've actually seen, I saw Steve's band a couple times. I was shithoused once. Oh, at the Kentucky Derby party.
Yeah.
They were playing like the outside of it when you walk in, and they were out there ripping. So I got to hang out with them for a little bit.
Yeah, dude. It's funny because we didn't realize we had that connection until about 4 or 5 months ago when the engineer posted, his name's Taylor Hahn, posted a picture, and Steve goes, "Wait, you go to Taylor too?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Like, that's where I've been recording all my shit for the last 2 years." And he's like, "Oh, crazy. Taylor's awesome." Fast forward to like 3 weeks ago, Steve posts a picture of him giggling with a guitar in his hand on Instagram, and he's rocking a white panel Expos hat. I was like, I have the same hat. Next time I go to Taylor's, I'm wearing it, and we're gonna do a side by side. I'm gonna make Taylor edit that shit.
But, I mean, that's kind of what you were saying, though. It's radio's a bitch, man. It's such a hard business, and think about sports talk, right, in general. And I'm not trying to disrespect. I just don't count 850 as a sports talk station. I know they have shows, and I love Ryan and Ben. Those guys are my homies, but it's 3 stations really, right, in town. And one of them's a different kind of hustle anyway. So there's what, dude, 25 sports talk host jobs in this city. Mm-hmm. Not that you couldn't move, but I know you have some things here. But I think everybody does have a different path, and I like what you said. You're supposed to be where you are. And you always take something, whatever, I'm eventually going to get fired from altitude. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's the history of the job.
Right. It's you take, something from every stop to get you the next one. That's all it's about.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, I think learning what I like, it's what you were talking about earlier when we were talking about cancel culture. You learn from your failures. I forget who it was, a coach. I know Coach said this someday. I actually think it was John Wooden. You learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Yeah.
I will look that quote up and I will post it right here on the screen for people to see. But it's one of those things that, like, I've always found out that I wrote the best songs because of the saddest moments.
Yeah.
I have learned to work harder because of the failures or situations where I didn't put enough effort in. But that's the thing. It's like, I strive now with like this podcast. The first few episodes feel a little clunky, feel a little weird. The intros are a little strange. The editing's a little strange. But like, as I've gotten better and I've done more repetitions and I've worked harder at it and realized, I got over the 10 episode hump, which is usually where people quit. Right. now I have more drive than ever to like do this, to get more guests, to try and tell more stories, to get, not even like, I care about subscribers because that's how I, get people to watch the show. But I don't care if everybody likes my content, because guess what? It's for me.
Yeah, and
I'm
what?
doing
They're not supposed to either.
right. Not everybody's supposed to love everything you do. And I'm sure I'm still waiting for my first dislike on YouTube. I can't wait.
I'll do it after this.
Okay, deal. Put it on you'll find an episode. Put it on Ryan's. Just put it on Ryan's. But that's the thing. It's like I love doing this because it's fun. I get to talk to guys like you who I don't get to see as often as I want to, because our schedules are so fucking backwards and we just don't have time. And and I get to, like, I got to interview, the episode I released today is my homie from Australia. It was a 17-hour time difference.
Damn.
And we made it work because he was like, dude, I want to talk to you so bad. It's fucking great. He's the best. His name's Blair. You guys check that episode out. It's great. I'm talking to a band from Sweden on Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm like taking my lunch break to do an interview. Like, it's those kind of things that I'm like, you know what, I'm doing this right. Like I'm figuring this out, and it's awesome, man. It's great. It's funny. We could talk for like another hour about so many other things, like music and everything. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just take this as a long episode. You are like the king of hip hop in my world, as somebody I know who listens to it. What is your opinion of this transition of where hip hop is now compared to its golden era, I guess we could call it, in the early 90s?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super biased because that's my era.
Right.
That's where I'm from. That's what I grew up with. So it's, I mean, I don't, it's also kind of weird, right? As you get a little bit older, I become more of my father. Like every morning when I wake up, I'm like, shit, what's on the classic rock station today? And nothing's wrong with that, but
right.
It's definitely not the same, right? The music is not the same. I mean, so many people, this is a very bad comparison here, but like literally they were killing each other in the 90s,
Right.
They weren't just talking shit on the internet and then going live on Instagram together and see who could have the biggest insult, and they definitely weren't painting their fucking hair rainbow and tattooing 69 all over their face.
To Forky 6'4".
Yeah. Yeah. That was the only good thing you had, right?
Yeah.
So it's at the same time where I say I definitely, I'm mid 90s. That's where I'm always going to live. That's always going to be the heart of hip hop for me. But I'll still listen to some of the trash ass shit that's there now. Like, I get it. It's, Lil Pump's got some stupid songs where he's literally got a line that says something where he says, "A millionaire, but I don't know how to read," and it's a little bit, but that kind of dumb stuff of, you kind of put yourself back there. I'm like, all right, if I'm 20 years old and I have a whole bunch of money, I'm probably going to say some real dumb shit into a microphone too. But the beat sounds good. I can bob my head while I'm in the car. I feel good about it. But yeah, I'm definitely not like, purchasing albums on iTunes for these day rappers, but I don't hate on them.
Yeah. I try. I really do.
Oh, and actually, I will say, except Travis Scott. That shit is trash. If he was not with whatever Kardashian he's with, we wouldn't even know his name.
True fact. But it's funny because they all have the same like formula. It's either Lil Dumb, Lil something, or like three names that mean nothing, or like a color, the with an A, and then insert animal or something. Like, every name is a generic ripoff of a SoundCloud track. And then they all use the same trap beat. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, because I listened to some of that stuff, it led me into a genre called trap metal.
What?
So it's trap beats with distorted guitars, raps, and then scream vocals.
No shit.
My boy Adam Ramey, who got us, I'm now, Gunpowder Empire is now part of Push Digital Marketing. They're hooking us up. They're getting our numbers up. They're helping us grow the brand. But Adam Ramey, who's the screamer for Dropout Kings, we met on Instagram and like started shooting shit back and forth. And I was like, dude, like this trap metal shit is ridiculous. He goes, right? And talked to him about it. And he was like, you know, it was just crazy. Cause like I was in this, like this gent band and I loved playing metal, but like something was missing. And I you know, that hip hop vibe has always been there. And so we kind of took new metal and then threw a trap beat on it and made it better. And I was like, oh. And they just
some of that because I want to hear what the hell that sounds like.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a track. But there's a band from the UK called Hacktivist, which is also a trap metal band, and they did a track together that dropped today called "I Ain't Depressed." It is nasty, and I love it. And it's funny because like it's one of those things where because I listened to like one Lil Yachty song or like a little bit of some of that gross trap shit that I definitely can't get behind.
Hey, Lil Yachty's a low-key fucking real good skateboarder. You know that?
What? Okay,
Yeah.
at least he has another skill. But that's pretty cool. I might have to look that up.
Yeah.
But because of that, I found this other genre, and it got me a connection that led to a connection that led to me getting guests on the show, led me to getting the band a little bit more promo, you know, things like that. And
Yeah.
it's been fucking weird.
I mean, you know it just by some of your media stuff and what you're doing now, dude. It's so much more as I'm kind of becoming an adult at some point of my life at 36 years old. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
Oh, hell no.
I realize so much. Like I mean, you always envision a businessman knowing exactly what they're doing. And now that I have daily briefings with businessmen, they have no idea. Everyone is literally just flying by the seat of your pants, and it's so much about who you know, not what you know. It's unreal.
Yeah, not to call out my my girlfriend's sister in this episode, but hi Hannah.
Hannah.
She mentioned that she's like, I am surprised at how many people you know for your podcast. Like how many people you genuinely call friends or people that you know who are guests on your show. I'm like, yeah, because networking is what media is.
How it works. Yeah.
It's life in general. Like I can honestly say if it wasn't for being at the Colorado Media School and like working with you guys, I would have never met Ryan. I would have never met you. You know, by learning the skills of networking through talking to Cub a bunch, I would have never worked with Amy. Amy would have never hired me to be a broadcaster.
Loving me too, man. You got to tell her I said hello next
I
time.
will, man. I love Amy. She's, dude, literally, I'll tell you that story in a minute of how I even got that first gig. It's all because of James Gomez's retirement party. Yeah. But like literally, if it wasn't for like meeting Amy, I would have never had Sydney Wicker, who does Laced Up at CSU, who did an interview with Katie Widgie, which was really cool. Laced Up is an all-female run sports show where
Right.
the producers, hosts, creators are all women who love sports and are just passionate about it. She's worked with Laura Oakman and Galvanized. It's awesome. But like, see like all the little connections, like all the little lines create things. And it's just the way it is. Like, and one thing I tell people all the time when they ask me about this kind of stuff, and you can attest to this too, when trying to get guests on a show, even for your show, the worst that anybody can do is say no. Like, hey
Yeah.
man, I got a segment at 4:35. It's our last segment of the day, but we want to fill it with you. Can you do it? Nah, man, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Cool. Well, I won't X you out. If you have some time later on in the week, we'd love to have you on. You know, that's my approach to everything. I reached out to Alex English and we have a connection. We're working on it slowly. I might have him on the show. That would be awesome.
He's a great dude.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like, it's the worst that anybody can do is say no. It's the same thing about like asking a girl out. The worst thing she can do is say no. No, the worst thing she can do is like say no and then date your best friend. But
And guess what? She probably has a best friend. Ask her.
Yeah, there you go. Look at Josh finding the silver lining in all of this. Yeah, so to go back to that, how I got the broadcasting gig. So I had talked to Amy at James's retirement party. Amy is amazing producer, runs School Space Media for the Arizona, Minnesota, and Colorado markets as an executive producer. She's insanely good at what she does. She worked for the Broncos. She's done a ton of work in Denver radio. She's a great contact to have. Like it was a conversation in passing. We had it quickly while we were all talking about James's love of the Buccaneers or whatever. And
fucking paid off. Well, it hasn't yet, but
it looks like it might.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get a message on Facebook at like 9:45 in the morning, or not 9:45 at night. And for some reason I was like, I need to check my phone. Like, I don't know. I was plugged in somewhere, and she's like, hey, so one of my broadcasters had a death in the family and can't make it, but, and I can't get anybody else to come do this game. I know you're interested. Do you want to come call a game? And I was like, yes, tell me who it is. I'll do all the research tonight. Like, give me 24 hours and I'll know everything I need to know. And she was like, great, perfect. Well, then one of our other alums from the Colorado Media School, Jake Meyer, was like, I can make it. Jake's a great dude. And so I ended up running camera for that game.
I can't go too deep into it, but I might be doing a little podcast thing that Jake's might produce, actually.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I love that guy.
Yeah.
I've worked with him a bunch at School Space. So, I ran his camera, and she's like, we have a soccer game next week. Can you do that? I was like, yeah, definitely. So, called soccer. Then I started calling football games, and then I got to call volleyball games.
Yeah.
And, and having a full range of knowledge of sports is huge. Like, even if you know just enough to like know the difference between a dig, a block, and a spike.
Exactly. That's it.
You're good.
Yep.
But
I've called volleyball games. Shit, I went to Wyoming for a volleyball tournament once to call it.
When I was at the media school interning, or we were doing the Crossroads tournament at the convention center, a dude lost his voice, and I stepped in and did 5 games.
Was I at that one too?
No, it was Curtis and Trey, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was crazy. Like, they're like, do you know volleyball? I was like, yeah, I know volleyball. It's fine. I'm a city champion in 7th grade. Let's go.
Oh, humble brag.
Yeah, St. James parochial champions, baby. Let's go. Undefeated. But like, that's another aspect is sometimes, I mean, yes, it's good to say no, but when it's an opportunity for advancement, you say yes. And
I don't say no, dude. I will never say no to a media job ever in my life.
Nope. And that's the thing is like, I've been very lucky that I've had the opportunities. The last basketball game I got to call last year was a double overtime game at Rock Canyon for a playoff spot.
Nice.
And the one kid for Rock Canyon who would average like 10 minutes a game stepped up and scored 25 points and carried them to victory.
That's awesome.
And it was amazing to watch. Like, it was such a fun game. But that's the thing is like in media, you never know what your opportunity is going to be, what it's going to be, who it's going to be. And you take every opportunity you can get.
Yep. And I could tell you 100 stories of the things, like you said, doors open doors, or when I was a student, 12 years ago or whatever it was at the media school, I had a full-time job where I was on call once a week. My internship started at 5 a.m. It was 5 days a week. So I'm talking 5 a.m. at the studio, work, go to work at 8, do my work from 8 to 5, haul ass to the media school, try to get maybe dinner in me, go to school 3 nights a week until 10:30. I'm talking about 16, 17-hour days every single day of the week. But you know what? As much as I bitched and moaned about it, then I chose it. But
Yep.
2, dude, that lifestyle schedule has set me up to do what I do now. And I've got a much better thing going now than I did then, but I've also worked hard as fuck for a decade to get it. But it's nonstop, man. If you want something, it's so old and cliche and tired, but I'd rather die chasing than talk about trying. You know what I mean? I'll always live by that.
Oh, amen, dude. You know, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like because of my schedule, like I was originally supposed to be Vic's intern. I was supposed to do the morning show.
I didn't
Um,
know.
yeah. So I got into Altitude with the help of Bill Hanslick, who's a lifelong friend. My mom and his wife have known each other forever. I went to school with all three of his four kids. But he got me in contact.
This that the Nuggets lost Torrey Craig.
Yeah.
That was Bill's guy, dude.
Yeah, dude. Bill loved him, man. But he got me in contact with Vic, and Vic was like, if you can't make it on my show, I will get you on another one. So Vic got me the interview with James Marilat, and I got to work with you and Ryan and Nate, which was amazing. But it's because I had a day job where I worked 6 days a week at Starbucks, working 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I would leave there, go to school 3 days a week, and then go from there, from school to the internship, and wouldn't leave there till 6:30, 7 o'clock some nights because I had to edit the podcast episodes at the end of every hour.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would leave at 7 o'clock. I'd get home because I lived in Littleton. So I drove from Littleton to Greenwood Village to Belmar, Belmar to Denver, Denver to Littleton every day.
Man.
And, you know, no sleep, but, you know, I got a certificate in my closet in the bedroom that says that I worked my ass off to get where I'm at. And I was willing to, before I got the job at Comcast, I was going to take a contractor job working in their VOD department, working 410 overnights just to get my foot in the door at Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Deb Bird at the Colorado Media School.
Yeah.
She was like, there's a traffic position opening up. And I got both jobs I got interviewed for both jobs at the same time. And when I went in, the other job has a standard schedule. It's 10 cents more an hour, but it's a standard schedule. And I was already in the company. Like, there was no contractor position.
And that's what the company wants anyway. Like, we don't have to do paperwork. We don't have to pay more insurance for this person. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. And, you know, I've been there it'll be 3 years in February. And it's because I said yes to the opportunities that were presented to me. And it was because I was willing to try something different.
Yep.
Something I didn't even know traffic fucking existed until I took the damn job. Like, we try to explain it.
All the time. Like, you have no idea how many jobs are in media that, yeah, I mean, I love that I get to be on air, but there's so many better jobs.
Yeah, jobs that are a little more like I didn't even, like, people find out what I do and they're like, wait, that's a thing? Like, I just thought commercials ran. Like, the company pays the network. I was like, hell no. It's way more complicated. The conversations I have on a daily basis with like Honda and Toyota about their $15,000 NFL Monday Night Football spots, like, that shit's crazy, man. Like,
none of us even get to do a job if there ain't no traffic department.
yeah, because it's how we get paid.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I will listen to as many Redbird Farms commercials as I need to if it means that we get to keep Vic and you and Ryan on the air.
Other people are like, what's your favorite part about the radio? I'm like, commercial breaks.
That's when all the fun stuff happens. Yeah.
There are some things that, you know, hopefully I'm fortunate enough to work in radio the rest of my life. And, you know, maybe I'll be a little more humble at that time. But as I sit here right now on December 4th, my last day on radio, I am lighting the world on fire with every story that I have and could not have shared. So that's what I'm saving it all up for now.
That sounds awesome, man. Well, we'll have to do a part 2 of this at some point and talk a little bit more about other things outside of sports and just life in general, man. But if you've got anything to promote, anything you want to put out to the world of this podcast, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's great to catch up with you, see your face. So once this shit's over, we got to grab a beer. But Twitter, @JoshuaDover, Instagram, Joshua Dover Radio. The show, like Michael said, 10 to 2 every day on Altitude 92.5 in Denver or Altitude Sports Radio, an app. We got it all. Like I said, I'm working on a little something to maybe have a little podcast going of my own, but we'll see what happens with it. But hopefully I can do some of that. And just tweet me, man. Let's bullshit with each other and roast each other on Twitter. That's it.
Yeah, definitely, man. I gotta get back into that rotation and start doing some shit talking. Now that the NBA season's gonna start, I'll be back more on there. That's most of when I do most of my time.
Trash Lakers fans together. That's fun.
Yeah, one of my buddies, Tony, is actually he's in a band with Davey back in the day.
Nice.
He's a diehard Lakers fan, and I talked some mad shit before the season, and he asked me to apologize. So, Tony, I'm only kind of sorry, but you were right, and I was wrong. You're better looking. I'm ugly. Whatever the rest of that Billy Madison quote is. But Josh, dude, it's good to see you, man. As always, take care of yourself, and I'll let you know when this is up.
Please promote on my stuff too.
Yeah, it should be. Let's see. Hold on. I might skip Christmas just because it's Christmas, so it'll be New Year's Day.
Oh hell yeah! All right,
So,
start the party off right.
Hell yeah!
We're gonna turn the whole fucking world around that year anyway.
Let's fucking do it, man. All right, brother. Good to see you, man. Take care.
Michael, thanks for having me, man.
No problem, man. Peace.
Later.
It almost feels like someone else is living my life. 'Cause it almost feels